Welcome back to this tutorial, guys. Today I'm going to show you how to make a navbar using Tailwind CSS. In the last tutorial we installed the Tailwind CSS, and which we said is just a framework that is able to make your styling for any website. So today I'm going to show you how to make a navbar. As you can see here, I have a navbar that I recently came up with. And now using Tailwind CSS is also very easy, even to make such navbar and a website. So this navbar is responsive, as you can see. It has the debugger, as you can see, and then the logo where you can place your logo, and the navbar is responsive. So this is what we're going to do today, and I'm just going to show you how to make such a navbar. Okay, so now let's just get started. So the first thing you need to do is you need to have an index.html, and then you just need to have a simple markup like this, and let's just get started. So the first thing you need to do is I already have a navbar a nav class here with the UL class and the LIs. So this is the just particular template you're going to get started with. So the first thing you need to do here, you just need to come up with this, and then we can do this together. So now what we need to start here is we're going to start with the UL class, whereby we are going to start styling the UL class. This is just appearing with the on the website. Is just appearing with the home, about, services and contact. So let's just get started. So as you can see, I just have the particular style home, about, services and contact. So we are going to make this appear as a navbar using Tailwind. So let's just continue. So the first thing we need to do here, we just need to start with the UL class, and within the UL class, for example, you can see our nav elements. They all have list styling, that is, they are in a ordered kind of a list. So we need to reset this using a utility class in Tailwind CSS. So under list reset, this what we come up with. So you can see now they are applied in this manner. So let's continue. Now the next thing you need to do is we need to have it large flex, which is going to flex the items on a large screen, and as well we are going to justify them in justify end. So let's just do this, justify end, and then flex the items with proportion of 1, that is so that they can align themselves to the center. So this is what we have in. So we have in a large screen flex and then justify end, so that they will be presented on one side, and then we align the items to the center. So now let's check what's happening. So you can see, so this is what we should have, so that as the navbar continues coming up, we shall have the items on this side. So let's continue. Now the next thing we need to do here, since now we are done with the UL, we need now to put a margin radius. So let's just come here. We are going to have a Tailwind utility class of MR6. So MR is the margin radius of 6. So when we save here, it's going to have a radius of 6. So let's just do to the rest. So we are just going to give it same likewise. So now they have a margin radius of 6. Now the next thing we need to do is now the air tag classes, so which is the home, about and so forth. So now we are going to give them a particular styling, that is we are going to give them a over class, and we will require them not to have an underline. So the next thing we need to do here is have the inline. So we are going to give them an inline block. So an inline block utility class, and then we are going to give them a horizontal horizontal axis of that is a padding of that is on the horizontal of 2, and then we're also going to give it a vertical padding, that is px of 2, and as well we are going also to have it to give them a text of white, that is our white text, and then we are going to give them, that is, we will require them not to have any underline, so no any underline under them. So we can just check no underline, and then we're also going to set a hover text, that is when you hover along them, we are going to give them a hover text of white, yes, hover text of sorry, not white but blue, since we have given them a text of white under here. So we are going to give it for 300, and then that's all for them. So what we are doing here, we have an inline block, a py that is padding of horizontal of 2, and then padding of vertical 2, and text white, no underline over text. So when you look at them now, it will not appear as of now, but as you can see from the home, we already have a over of text blue. So the next thing we are going to give them, so let's do for the rest of them. So we are just going to repeat the same thing to the rest of the nav elements. So now, since now this is done, so now we have given them all the same particular utility classes. So when we check the navbar, that is let's just reload the page, you can see they are not appearing, but when you hover, they have a hover of blue with size of 300. Now the next thing we need to do, we need to have a particular background here so that you're able to see them on this. So let's now go to the next place. So now here we are going to style from, so after the nav, the UL, now we are going to style them from the above, from the nav. So let's just start with the nav. So under the nav, we are going to give it a class, and then this class, we are going to give it a class of that is, we are going to align the items at the center so that they can be responsive. So flex items center, so we are going to flex item center, and then we are going to justify them at the end, and as well sorry, we are not going to justify them at the end, but we're going to give them justify in between. Now justify in between just presents the where they are from this part to a part here. So justify between, and then we're going to flex the items, that is, we are going to wrap the items so that they can be aligned in one particular line, and then we're going to give them a background color of black so that we're able to see them. That is, when we now save this, you're able to see a background of black, as you can see here. So the next thing we need to do here, we need to give them a padding of 3. That is, the padding P3 is a padding from the, that is, from this size to this size. So when we save, we are going to see something here. So when we, so we are going to give them this padding. So the next thing here, after the padding, we need to give them a fit. The navbar needs to be fixed, that is from the top, and then we are going to give it a width of full from Tailwind. So W full presents the width, so the width is going to be full, that is 100%, and then we're also going to give them a top of 0 together with the Z index of 10, so Z index of 10, and then a padding of that is the padding from the top that is not padding, but just from the top we're going to give it 0, so that from the top it's not going to go down. And then lastly we are going to give it a position that is pin T, stands for position utility class in Tailwind. So that is all about the nav, as you can see. So when we just now you can just see. Now the justify between is just between the navbar element from where we have them, from this part to this part. So you justify them between and as well. So now that is the navbar, that is the nav class. So now the next thing we need to do here, let's just come here to the body. Now we need to give the body a class and give it a background of white. That is just for the whole class. That is if you are going to continue with this as you make your website. And then you are going to give it a font of sans from Tailwind, and then we are going to give it a line height. That is leading normal stands for the line height of the element that we are going to do. So you are going to give it a leading normal, and then tracking normal as well. So tracking normal stands for the line spacing of our element. So that is it for the body. So the body is going to have a background of white, this particular font, the line height. Now this line height from Tailwind is a line height of 1.5, and then a tracking normal, that is to have a spacing between our elements. So now this is just for the rest of the website. So you can see the font has just changed to font sans, and then now the background is white as well. So now let's just look at the other elements. Now the other element should be, so now the next thing is about, we are going now to have a logo just right after the nav. Now the logo should be somewhere here, as you saw from my earlier navbar. So now let's just go and set up a logo. So the logo is going to be under a span class. So you're just going to set it under a span. On the span, so this should be n. So we are going to have a logo over here. Now this logo needs to be styled as well. So now so we are going to have a logo. Now this logo, we are going to style it from the Tailwind, and then we are going to give it a class, and the class is going to be text white. So we are going to have it as text white. We are going to have it text white with no underline. With no underline, and as well we are going to set it under hover of text white. The text white, and then we are going to give it a hover of no underline, so that it will not have any underline whatsoever. So now this is just for the logo, and then from the logo we are going to give it an href that is going to present it just like you see in the normal website. So we are going to give it just to link nowhere, and then now since it's still under the span class, we are going to give it the span also a class for the logo, and for the logo we are going to give it a text of 2XL. 2XL is the font size and also the height of the for the logo, and then the next thing is going to be the PL. So we are going to give it a padding over 2, and then the font is going to be semi-bold so that it can also be bold. So now this is what is happening. So we are giving it, and let's just take this down. So we are going to give it a text style of 2XL, and then PL2, and font of semi-bold, and then the next thing is going to be the PL. So we are going to give it a padding over 2, and then the font is going to be semi-bold. So now this is what is happening. So we are giving it, and let's just take this down. So we are going to give it a text style of 2XL, and then PL2, and font of semi-bold. so that it can be bold. And there's as well, we already explained there. So the anchored class is, that is, we are giving it a text of white, no underline, uber text white, and that is, we are not going to have any underline. So now let's just check. So now this one is going to have a logo, and as well you can see the logo is now there. So now let's go to the next thing. So once this is, so you can see it is semi-bold with all that particular classes we gave. Now the last thing we need to do is to make this particular navbar to be responsive, so that now, as you can see, their elements are just stacked in this particular manner, but we want to make it so that it can be responsive as we in any mobile device. So let's continue. Now the first thing we need to do, now since we gave the styling for the logo, now we are going to make we are going to give a div class here, so that these particular elements, as you can see, they are stacked in this way. They can start aligning themselves in the correct way. So we need to have a div class here, which is going to form so we are going to have a div class. Now this div class is going to flex the items. It's going to flex the item center, and then is also going to flex, is going to shrink the item, so that the flex items will not have any shrink. That is, they will not shrink in any way. So this one is going to be flex shrink. We are going to set it to 0, so that no items will be shrink. And then the other thing we'll need to do is we need to give it a text of white, margin radius, so this is text white, and a margin radius, that is MR of 6. Now this div should be here. So now this is what you are doing. You are flexing the items at the center. We are allowing them not to shrink, and then we are giving them a text of white with a margin radius of 6. Now we need to align them so that they can be at the center in the correct position. So let's just check this. So now we need to make this a navbar responsive, and the first thing we are going to do, let's just come here in the UL class, and then on the top of UL class we are going to have a div class that's going to define for us the width full. We are going to give it a flex of grow so that it can occupy any space. Then the next thing, we need to make it responsive by telling it to have a large screen. That is, on the large screen, that is 1024 pixels, is going to flex. And then the large items, that is on large items, we are going to center them, and then give it a large screen of width on auto, and then hidden. We are going to, that is when it's hides, it's going to have a block kind of a shape. So that is large block. And then now we are going to give it a padding on top of 6, that is from on top, and then we are going to give it a padding of top of 0, and as well we are also going to give it now from there we are supposed to, so that's how it's supposed to be. Now remember, now this is just this div should not be here. Now remember, this one is now making the navbar to be responsive. So now this is what we're going to do, we are going to give it a width of full, flex to grow so it can occupy any space of the items, large flex so that on the large screens it is going to flex, large screen, on the large screen as well the items are going to be on the center, and then it's going to have an auto hidden, that is when we apply our JavaScript code. So now this one should be here, the nav should end here with the nav with the div, sorry. So now this is what happens. Now let's see what happens once we save and refresh. So on responsiveness, you can see now the items have just disappeared. So on the utility class that we have just kept, that is auto, large screen, auto hidden. Now the next thing we need to do here, we will need to give it, we need now to give it, now after the, since now we are done with this particular element, now the next thing we need to do is just after the span class of the logo, where we just kept this particular style in here, we need now to have the burger class or the hamburger. We are going to give this particular element an hamburger class that is somewhere here, so that you can use it to toggle over the menu bar. So now let's just have an hamburger here. So this is just the hamburger we're going to have. So within this hamburger, we are going to do some things here. We are going to give it a div class, and then within this div class, we are going to set it to block on large screen, let it be hidden. So on large screen it is hidden. Let me just close this, and then we are now going to give it a button. So this is just a button, and this button will have an ID, and this ID is going to have the nav toggle, the one that we are going to use so that we can toggle over our menu. And then afterwards we are giving it a class. Now within this class we are going to give it a flex items. So this should be flex items center. So flex items center, and then we are going to give it a vertical padding of 3 from the utility, and then a horizontal of 2. So we are going to give it vertical and horizontal padding, and then we are also going to give it a border which is rounded. Remember, now we are establishing the hamburger toggle class. So the border is going to be rounded, and then we are giving it a text of gray, which is of 500. So text gray 500, it should be 500. And as well, we are also giving it a border of gray of 600. So this is 600 from the Tailwind utility class. And then now afterwards, we are going to give it an hover of so that when we hover, it's going to have a particular color, and this color we are going to give it is a hover of border. It's going to be white. So here we are giving it an hover of border. So the border is going to be white as well. So now this is about this particular styling. So now this is it. So the hamburger. Now since I had not put the hamburger, I've just kept the styling. So let me just grab the hamburger. Now I'm grabbing it from an SVG class. So I'm just going to copy and paste it for timing. So guys, this is it. So I've just pulled an SVG class that I had already prepared. So this is the SVG class, and you'll have the code below so that you can just go and check it out. So now this is the SVG class that is going to give us the particular menu. So now when we save this particular work, and let's just see as we refresh it. Now when we see, we can see the hamburger is already now presented here, just right beside the logo. So now that is it. So now the next thing we need to do here is since now we are done with the styling for the hamburger, now we are going to use JavaScript so that now when we toggle over this particular element here, is going to pull this class, is going to pull the nav, the menu bar items, so that we're able to see them on a mobile device. So now what we need to do here, we need to come here to the UL class. Now under the UL class here, we'll need to give it nav ID. So the nav ID is going to establish for us the JavaScript so that we are able to toggle it alongside the Navbar. So now just right here we are going to give it a nav ID. So we are going to give it a nav ID. Now this nav ID is just to present just the nav content. And the nav, what is the nav content? The nav content is this one where we have the menu bar. All this part is the nav content. So we are now going to use JavaScript so that it can make this nav content appear as we toggle within the hamburger class. So this is the nav content. Now the other one was the nav toggle here, the button ID. So remember, button ID, we have given it a nav toggle, so that now when we click or we over this hamburger, under the nav toggle is now going to reveal for us the nav content. So I hope you understand in there. It is just as easy as that. So now let us just give it over. Let's just write the JavaScript over here. So the first thing we need to do is let's just have the scripting tags. So what we're going to do here, we're going to have document .get element by ID. And which element are we getting by ID? The first one is going to be the nav toggle. So the nav toggle here, we are going to grab it, and then we are grabbing it .onClick, and as well we are giving it under this particular function that is .onClick. So .onClick equals to function and then here we are going to pass opening and closing braces, so that now here the next, so .get element by ID. So let me just search for this, be somewhere here, or let's just copy this and paste it here for ease. So .get element by ID. Now what we are getting by ID should be now here we are now grabbing the nav content, so that the nav content can be revealed within our website. So that is now the nav content. So the nav content should be .class list. And what is the class list here? It is the class list .toggle. And then what do we mean? Here we mean that should be either revealed or hidden, but now here we are giving it under hidden. So now that is it on this. So we are just getting the element by ID, the nav toggle, and the nav toggle is this one under this particular bagger. And then what we are now doing, we are now either revealing or hiding the nav content. And now this time the nav content should be hidden, so that now when we toggle over when we click over the bagger, the nav content can be either revealed or hidden. So let's just save and see what's happening. So now when we toggle, when we click the bagger, now the contents are revealed in this way. So guys, this is the tutorial for today. You can see now it is also responsive on all devices. As you just move along, it is still responsive in whichever way. So now this is the tutorial for Tailwind, just a little bit of introduction for Tailwind. So guys, let's meet in the next tutorial, and make sure you subscribe, hit the bell button for notification. Ensure you subscribe to this channel. So if you love this tutorial, just share it with your friends, and let's meet in the next tutorial.